It's not in the face! Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Hey, Not the Face with your host, John Nash, and your producer, me, Steffi Haynes. And today we have a super special episode. We have a callback to a show that John and I used to do with the one, the only, the legendary Eugene S. Robinson of Oxbow fame, of Knuckle Up fame, of all the fame. Eugene, I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be anywhere, but especially here. And it's like the I guess you ain't heard, I don't do shines no more. Oxbow is dead, but now I'm Eugene S. Robinson from Beneil. So that works.
Beneil. Okay, there we go. So Eugene, you know what? You got to tell us what's going on with you, because I hear that you are Europe bound.
Yeah, it's not even bound. The house sold. I sold my house in California, and I'm now on tour with Beneil in the Eastern Seaboard, right? But I have no more home in the USA anymore. And so July 17th, I get on the air after the tour is over, get on an airplane and decamp for Europe, first Poland, and then where my house is in Spain. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time. And unless people think that I'm driven by political motivations to do this, know that I started building this house about 4 years ago. So it's just, yeah. If anything is driving me out of this country, it's insurance.
Oh, well.
And taxes. These things will eat you alive here. So I'm glad to be going.
Awesome. Hey, John, how the hell are you? It's been a whole 3 days since we talked.
Good. I just been, I've been looking at pull-out beds and stuff that'll outfit my room in Eugene's Spanish estate, where I plan on fleeing to if I have to when I head out there. So he's just,
it's a compound.
Well, compounds work great. I just let me pitch a tent in the corner somewhere with, by
the hot tub. I gotta give you a spot.
Oh, well, shit, look at that. We can all hit in the hot tub together. That'll be perfect in the hot Spanish sun. So, but the best part too, you should point out that your name Beneil is named after the Mexican Spanish filmmaker. That's
exactly right. And
Louis Beneil.
On tour, I'm constantly correcting people's pronunciation because I've heard a lot of masquerade. Beneil. I was like, come on, man. Come on, watch a movie, please. So yeah.
Hey, Eugene, I got a question for you. Okay, I have two questions for you. One, is there like a mother-in-law cottage for me? And two, are you going to do it up with all of the lush foliage and beautiful gardens that you had at your old house?
Well, I did that kind of insane thing because I knew it increased the value of the house, which indeed it did. But first of all, yes, there's a mother-in-law. There's an apartment downstairs outfitted for mother-in-law and guest. And secondly, I have to check out the local flora just because different things grow differently given the location. So already it's landscaped and there's some cool stuff in there, but I like to put a personal touch on it. So yeah, I'm going to be growing stuff. And plus Cora loves it. So that's kind of one of the things we like to do together. So.
Oh, that's so awesome. So for our listeners out there, we are going to give this episode away for free. And what it is we are actually going to do a care don't care for our listeners. And if you're new here, we used to do this show with Eugene, and we would go through a UFC card and we would decide each fight whether we cared about it or we didn't care about it. And I would moderate the conversation. So I would bring in a fight. I would lay out the statistics on it. And then I would ask John and Eugene if they cared or if they didn't care about the fight. And then I would weigh in afterwards. And we figured since our time with Eugene, where that he's on the sort of the same time zone as us, is very limited, we would get him in here and do one for UFC 317. Now, this is not to say that we won't pull him in from time to time when he has an available spot for us, but This will be the first time in 3 years that we've done one of these. So it's very rare and it's a very special occasion.
And you should explain, Stephanie, why we stopped doing this show.
Oh,
they need to know why we stopped.
Let me tell y'all. Okay, the quality, and I bitch about this on Twitter and social media all the time, but the quality of the fight cards for UFC has gone so far down the drain that every time we would get a card, if it wasn't a pay-per-view, and even the pay-per-views, some of them, we would find that we only had like 2 cares. So we decided that we had become so sour to it that we should probably end the show because we were finding less and less cares. So we've had a 3-year...
Yeah, I used to do, I don't know if you remember, I used to run this company called Skull Game that was like a Yelp for porno. And at one of the points, somebody was saying, all the stuff you've given me to review is shit. You can't do it. It's terrible, terrible stuff. I don't want to, it's the low quality. I go, listen, what you need to think about is this. Somewhere there's somebody out there in America who will appreciate that DVD or that movie. And that's who you're trying to inform. And I think, if we applied that to the fight game, say, okay, well, we don't really care about this. Is it on the John Nash scale of significance? Is it important? 2, can we cater to somebody who really likes this fighter and see our way clear to care about it? And there were just not a lot of things that were meeting that level of that base level of interest. So that's why we did what we did.
Yeah, the criteria was very loose. And even with loose criteria, we couldn't find a lot of cares. So we figure with 3 years of space in between and the fact that this is sort of a decent card and it's got very good statistics. We'll say that. It's got 5 ranked fights, 10 ranked fighters, which is very hard to come by these days. Like the on the road cards, you're lucky if you get 1 ranked fight. And there's some pay-per-views that only have 2 ranked fights on them. So this one was kind of special. I know that Eugene likes Charles Oliveira and Alexandre Pantoja. There are several worthwhile fighters on this card, at least at the top end. At the bottom end, it gets a little more sparse, but we wanted to do a callback. Me and Jon have been reminiscing about this show quite a bit over the past few months. And so when he said, hey, let's get Eugene before he leaves, I was all over it. And so Eugene can attest to this. I have been emailing him constantly.
I know about constantly.
I've hit you up 6 times, man.
Was it 6? I counted 3.
No,
I'm on the metric system already, I guess.
Yeah, because I went back and forth with you a little bit just to nail you down for the time. And as soon as I gave the earlier time, Eugene was in finally.
Yeah. Because I'm back. I just finished sound check, and by the time this show is over, I will now be called on to eat dinner. So that's what I'm doing.
All right. So without any further ado, let's talk about UFC 317. So I'm going to give you all the stats. 5 ranked fights, 10 ranked fighters. Only 8 are coming off of losses. That's another biggie right there. Only 8 are coming from...
Only 8. That's a lot.
Oh, no. Normally, it's more than half the card. Like, it's gotten really bad. So this card's actually a lot better than most. Okay. Only 8 are coming from the Contender Series. Nobody's coming from the Ultimate Fighter. Nobody is coming from Road to UFC. And we have 3 debuts that are not coming from the Contender Series or the Ultimate Fighter. So that's kind of unique in itself right there. Now, there are 12 fights on the card, and we will start at the top. The good stuff, so that we don't have to let y'all hear Eugene say that he doesn't give a shit about any of the undercard.
Whoa, hey, language. What's that?
Oh no, you have wide open territory here, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir. All right. So, without any further ado, UFC 317, Eugene, top of the card, Ilia Topuria making his lightweight debut against Chucky Olive's Charles Oliveira. Do you care, and why?
Yeah, I do care. And this is a threadbare care. If you remember on the show Stomper, I had predicted that when Johnny Boney Joni was gone, that was the last fight of significance I thought that the UFC had in their pocket, and that I too will be gone. And it was eerily prescient, because I started dropping off earlier this year, where they were just crap cards. But I'm a big Topuria fan. I'm a big Olives fan too. However, given my destination and that I'll be training in a place that's not too far from Topuria's, I think I got to go with what constitutes now the home team, and pick him. Even though there's a strong possibility that he doesn't pull it out. I figure I like his jiu-jitsu. I like his stand-up. I know he switched teams. I think the team that got him to the dance, he's no longer with them. But whatever. It's an exciting fight. I think that they have executive kept Oliveira. Like, I don't think he's been getting the shot. I mean, we've seen this before. They've done this before with people who we like, and it's not so much that they're slow walking. I like him mostly because of his seeming absolute refusal to kowtow to President Trump, which is another disgusting earmark of the new UFC. But I'm still going to pick Topuria on this one. So,
how about you, John? Give us your take.
Well, first of all, I'm shocked that we did not do the proper Eugene introduction, that he's the author of Fight, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Ass Kicking, but we're afraid to get your ass kicked for asking.
Yes.
So we got to get that in there, because God knows I got hammered time and time again for getting that wrong.
You know what else we need to get him to do? He has this special intro. Come on, Eugene.
There's no way I remember it. That's the thing. I was hoping nobody would ask, because I don't remember. But I'm like, if you ran in here with a gun, I'd be like, I don't remember.
God knows I can't remember it at all either.
I'm in that Frank Sinatra stage of life where if it's not on a teleprompter, forget it.
Bedwetters and greedy bread gobblers. Bedwetters, greedy bread gobblers, workshop individuals. It's the Care Don't Care preview. Is not something personal about the fight. If you don't like what I have to say, well, get lost or something like that.
You forgot the oopsie overlords, or overlords with the oopsie.
And the ball or the bald one. If you're on the don't care side of the equation, don't get your feelings hurt, is probably because the marketing heft and weight of the organization has been put behind you. But something by
the overlords at the oopsie and or the bald one. That's where that came in. Yeah,
that's right.
I don't. You know what? There's 90% of our listeners have no clue what we just said there.
But Finley does. Finley is listening avidly right now.
He will be correcting us in the comments, I'm sure. So, but for this bout, this is a solid bout. Now, it's not a super fight. I think Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, I would have been super excited for. But this is a really quality, solid fight. I love Oliveira, but I think Father Time, just the way the fight business works, you can kind of see when you hit that, when you go off the edge, you start sliding down quick in the fight business. So I got to go with, I would love for Charles to win, but I got to go with Topuria. He, as much as he might come in looking smaller, I think, than people expect him to, he's not going to be huge at lightweight. The guy does look like he has extreme talent, athleticism compared to the other fighters right now. So I'm picking him.
I saw an article that says, is Ilia Topuria primed for an upset? And I thought to myself, he's got good jiu-jitsu and he's got that heavy, hot hand. And I feel like his power will translate pretty well moving up to 155. I feel like he might be in Kenny Florian's position where Florian was, going through literal hell to make 145 and not having to do that anymore. Maybe this is where he belongs. And remember, Charles Oliveira does have to kind of go through hell to make 155 a little bit. So, especially at his age, his advanced, ripe old age of 35. But his 35 is a little different. He's been in the UFC for like 14, 15 years now. He's been there for a long time, and he's had a lot of long, prolonged battles. He's been slept a few times. I think I'm also going to take Topuria, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was a little upset of the apple cart.
Yeah, I think the one last statement, I think Oliveira's chances rest on if Topuria's power does not translate moving up. And that's, I think it will, but there's a chance it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then the odds are going to be way off.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, insofar as power is a function of speed, will he be slower? But my understanding is he walks around at a weight that, is surprisingly heavy. So I don't know if that's going to disappear because he's losing a few pounds. I don't think so.
So, all right. I like it a lot. Now let's go on to our co-main event. Also a great fight. Alexandre Pantoja looks phenomenal. He has not lost a fight in 5.5 years. He faces off against Kai Kara-France, who has had a few losses along the way. As a matter of fact, his win streak is exactly 1. But Kai Kara-France packs quite a punch. He has knockout power. Alexandre Pantoja is like the Duracell man. He is in there, Energizer Bunny, Duracell, just lasts forever. He isn't exactly knocking people out, but he can certainly choke you out. And he is lethal on the ground. So I personally have to go with Pantoja. He has taken out everyone. And I don't think that Kai Kara-France on his 1-fight win streak is going to be able to get the job done. That's just me. I like Kai Kara-France a lot, but I just feel like Pantoja is really thriving right now. So Eugene, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Where is Pantoja from?
I believe he is from, I want to say Brazil. Yeah, he's from Brazil. He is from, let's see here, Rio. He's from Rio de Janeiro.
Okay, all right. You're the one who turned me on originally, if you don't remember, to Pantoja. Who I was like, ooh, what? But I'm close personal friends with Eugene Barman as a result of doing an article on him that I did a few years ago. And I've been paying attention to all those cats down under. And I think that there's this whole idea of lost valor because they had it all and then they lost it all. So I don't know. I think I'm going to pick Kai Kara-France on this one. I feel a guy with a 1-fight win streak is definitely a guy who has an emotional basis for wanting to win, especially, given the hard times that his team has been through as of the last few years. So, and the stuff you say, well, Pantoja hasn't really knocked somebody out. It's like, yeah, that's not what you want to say against a guy who's knocked people out. So I don't know, but I'm glad for there to be some light between us. That's all right.
How about you, John?
Well, I mean, it's a solid fight, so I like the fight. So it goes on the care list. I mean, it kind of example, though, what's happened in the UFC, because if you remember back in the day, fans that have been watching, let's say 10 years ago, besides UFC 100 and 200, often fight week would be these stacked cards. And I'm not dissing this as a bad fight, but you would have like Ronda Rousey versus Alexis Davis as the co-main in the past. You would have fights that were much, I shouldn't say much more relevant on the who came up with the acronym for us. Someone else did that for us.
Well, Eugene came up with the Gen scale of naming it that.
Yeah, I thought someone else came up with that in our readers, but anyways, but the gens that there's important fights, but there's also these big fights as co-mains. They'd have 2 title fights, or they would have this huge grudge match as the co-main. That they were trying to make Chael Sonnen versus Vanderlei Silva when that was a big fight as a fight week fight. So
this is a title fight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. What am I saying? It is a title fight.
These are,
but it's a flyweight fight. Let me go off my rant for a while. Okay, let me finish my rant. But there'd be bigger important fights. This is flyweight is not that important to the UFC as a whole. This is second tier, as mean as that sounds. So I'm still intrigued by it, but it's not as important. And Kai Kara France, who I have long cared, if people remember, that was one of the guys I jumped on the bandwagon early back in the day. He is just, I think he's kind of demonstrated he's just not at, he's good, but not at this class. And so I got to go Pantoja for the win.
All right.
You're fools. You'll see. You'll see.
You know what? I like Kai Kara France, and I normally root for him above everyone else. Yeah. So if he does win, it would make me very, very happy. I would like to see that. So
Yeah.
All right, next we have our third ranked fight of the night. We have Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van. Now, Brandon Royval is tough as nails. He's been doing very, very well. Joshua Van is a knockout machine. Now, I realize this is at flyweight again, but this is a barn burner of a fight right here. Man, I like watching Joshua Van so much, and Brandon Royval is just, he's a phenomenal scrambler. Neither one of them are ever in a boring fight. So I definitely care about this, and I've been on the fence. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jon to lead the conversation. In case you haven't noticed, we led with Eugene first. I took the second one. So now Jon's going to lead this one. So Jon, do you care or not?
I do care. It's intriguing enough. It hits the gen scale, which the gen scale is, those are fights that are relevant. The fights that, to me, the key thing is it relevant to a division. For the people that don't remember the old show, that was always my thing. Does it, is it an important fight? Is it just, we're not watching guys. We just know their names that are like, 7 and 8 in the last 15 fights. Both these guys are still pretty relevant, pretty high up in the flyweight division. I'm not going to say I'm blown away. It's not a fight like I'd cross the street, but I'm sitting down watching, so I definitely care. And I got to go with the guy that's demonstrated. I think, Van is isn't he on a bigger win streak? He's won a bunch of fights in a row.
Yes.
Who he beat, but he beat our guy too, Silva last fight. Mm-hmm. Everybody's guy. Everybody. If you're not a fan of his out there, then you don't want you listening to the show. But Royval beat our other guy, Tetsuro Terra. So God damn it, and I got to just flip a coin. I'm gonna go with Royval.
Eugene,
you dirty SOB. You just did that to stomp on my pick of Royval. Mostly because I don't know who the hell Van is outside of a shoe and a thing to drive around. So I've been out of it. So I've been away. So but I've liked Royval, and I think like Steph said, he's tough as nails. And I think he still has it in his head that there's significant things for him in his future, which often changes the way somebody approaches the fight versus, I'm a journeyman and I'm happy being a journeyman. I'm a, mid-level gatekeeper. I'm happy being a mid-level gatekeeper. It's the guys who have kind of not delusions necessarily, but actually an interest in legacy and think they're close enough to get more than a sniff. These guys fight like their hairs are on fire. Their hair is on fire. So I'm glad and comfortable picking Royval.
I've been on the fence about this a lot. I've gone back and forth several times. Both guys are so good, but I am also going to go with Royval because when it gets to the ground, and it will, Brandon Royval is a phenomenal scrambler. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. I'm not used to seeing Joshua Van do anything on the ground as much as I'm used to seeing him have tremendous stand-up. With Royval's ability to gut through the storm and be really lethal on the ground, I just feel like he's got an extra tool in his back pocket. So I am going to take Brandon Royval. All right. Next up, our fourth ranked fight on the card. And this one's a good one because both guys are phenomenal grapplers. And both of them have a hot hand, too. Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Eugene, back to you. What do you think? Do you care?
The thing is, I interviewed Dariush a long time ago, the only UFC fighter who speaks Aramaic. So he got hats off for that. All of the Trump love and the Jesus love is kind of wears on me. But, usually under normal circumstances, since the guy took time out from his busy schedule to, submit himself to an hour-long interview with me, an hour-plus interview, I might want to pick him. But I don't. Again, based on the criteria I just set for this last fight, I think Moicano is in a place where he's still fighting for a larger sense of, like, I don't think Dariush thinks that there's much left in his future. At this point, he's a guy going to work, where I think Moicano believes that a certain type of greatness is still within his reach. So I'm going to pick Moicano.
That's an excellent summary you gave right there of Moicano. I couldn't have said that better myself. That is exactly Renato Moicano.
Yeah.
Jon.
Again, it's kind of a toss-up because both have demonstrated, sadly, no one get mad for me, for bad-mouthing the fighters, but both of them demonstrated they are not true contender class fighters. They are not at the very elite level. Renato Moicano got his, I know it was a short, it was a short book fight against Islam, but he just got tanked in that fight, just trucked. And Beneil Dariush has lost now twice against the very best at the top, and hasn't fought in 18 months. And that 18 months layoff, longer layoff than Moicano. I can't say age because they both also, as lightweight, they've kind of hit the over the hill age of 30. I think they're over 35 each of them, like 36.
Yeah.
So I got to go with money Moicano. Hopefully he doesn't give us a lesson in fiat currency because I do not agree with him on his positions on this. But I am going to go with I do think he has some charisma on the mic, so I will still go with Moicano.
I'm going with Moicano as well. I just think he's going to win. There's a lot more left in his tank than in Beneil Dariush's tank. And the way Eugene described him, that he still feels like he can attain greatness, that's him in a nutshell right there. That man will keep striving. And he's gotten a lot better. That's the thing. He's gotten a lot better. Outside of Islam Makhachev, I think that if he weren't faced with someone like an Islam Makhachev, that he might have made it. But unfortunately, he ran into a buzzsaw. So hopefully his mindset is, still where Eugene says it is, because I feel like he's going to win here. So there's that. All right, now we get to the only unranked fight on the main card. And I feel like they set up Payton Talbott. Holy crap. I realize he's only got one loss, but Felipe Lima he's the buzzsaw in this fight. And I don't know how Payton Talbott gets through. By the way, it's my turn, so I'm going to lead this conversation right here. Felipe Lima, by virtually any way he wants, in my opinion. Now, Payton Talbott was really highly touted, but I just think that Felipe Lima is going to take this away from him in horrible fashion. Eugene.
I have no idea who either of these fighters are. That's how out of it I am. So I'm going to have to say, again, if you remember the standard, if I'm in the kitchen making a sandwich, I hear their names announced, do I run back, stumble over the couch, and get my ass in the seat just to watch this fight? And honest to God, I don't. Somebody's going to have to call me in. Now, you've already kind of called me in by saying, that these guys, and I'll watch, but going into it, I can't care. It would be dishonest of me to care.
How about you, Jon?
I'm kind of the same. I don't Talbott, I know he's got one loss. His last fight, he got trucked. So I don't put much stock in him. It's not. When you say this is a ranked fight, do you mean it's ranked UFC rankings, or are we using?
No, I said it's I said this is the only unranked fight on the main card.
When you use you're talking about the rank by the UFC, right?
Right. Both fighters would have both fighters enter their contest with a ranking.
Okay.
Neither one of these guys has a ranking.
Because as you recall, I always use Fight Matrix as my ranking. So,
right. But we're going by what the UFC considers ranked.
Okay, just want to get, but even then, this is the first fight of the pay-per-view too, right?
Yes, this is the opener, but this is going to be a banging opener. Felipe Lima is a badass, and everyone thought Payton Talbott was too, but when you get trucked by Hani Barcelos, really? Hani Barcelos is going to be the one that gave you your first trucking? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's why, because it's the first fight especially, I'm not going to care, because that gives me time to come home late to watch the rest of the card. I can get stuff done.
All right.
Get that sandwich made.
Felipe Lima has already beaten Mohammed Naimov, who is a very, very highly touted guy. He's beaten Miles John. So he's beating those grinders, those hardcore, wrestlers, the ankle biters, for lack of a better term. I mean, he's only lost once in his very first fight. So he's won 13 times in a row.
Yeah, I will wait. I mean, those are decent names, or they're solid names, but I will wait for a more elite name, and then I'll put them on my care list.
All right. Let me see here. Oh my gosh. Next up, we have our featured prelim. Boy, this is a terrible featured prelim because they actually have one more ranked fight, and it's a good ladies fight. And they don't have it in the featured prelim spot, which to me is very dumb, because who cares about Jack Hermansson versus Gregory Rodrigues at middleweight? John, this is you.
I mean, you just kind of answered, I don't care. I mean, Jack, this is where people used to get mad at us, because how are you so mean to these fighters? How do you not care about this guy? And I mean, nothing personally against Jack Hermansson, but he's like, what, 8-8 in his last 16 or something absurd, 500. I wouldn't say that much. Let's say 5-5 in his last 10, something like that, probably. He's kind of demonstrated that he is purely a journeyman, which is fine, but I'm not super impressed. And middleweight too is not an incredibly deep division. And Gregory Rodrigues is, I think just maybe a step above Jack Hermansson, which again is not much. So overall, I don't really care. Don't care. This is perfect because I'm going to skip the first fight of the pay-per-view, can skip the last fight of the prelims, and I can make some, I can stir fry something for dinner.
Eugene.
You can tell we're both hungry, because now the food, it's like taking a nice bouillabaisse with carrots. No, borscht. I mean, yeah. Okay. All right. No, I don't care.
I don't care either. I mean, I saw this fight and I wondered how it made it onto a pay-per-view. That's how, feature prelim, I hate it. Now, this next fight, this is not a ranked fight, but it's a really, really solid fight. These guys, both of them are future contenders, especially Hyder Amil. So we have Hyder Amil versus Jose Delgado in a terrific division, featherweight. These guys, especially Hyder Amil, are the future. Now, I don't understand how they have Jose Delgado as the favorite. I feel like Hyder Amil should be the favorite, but I'm going to turn this over to Eugene because it is his turn.
I was hoping that you would pick John, because I guarantee you, John is sitting there much like I am going, who?
Exactly. And it's okay. This is why the show was awesome, because we get to hear y'all.
We've actually become like those two old guys in the balcony and on the Muppet Show. I don't know who these guys are. I don't know. So I can't care.
All right. How about you, John?
I have to be honest that Eugene nailed it, because go ahead, Eugene. I'll let you finish.
No, the reason why we don't care has got nothing to do, again, if the fighters don't get your feelings hurt. The reason why we don't care is because of the lack of marketing heft and weight put behind you by the overlords at the Oopsie and the Baldwin. So, and that's been my complaint. That's why we are where we are.
Mm-hmm.
We've not put any effort at all into fighter development. You know, they're just like magically stars are supposed to kind of create themselves. That's not really how it works. And so we have, Steph says these are up and comers, and that's kind of cool. But they put zero effort into let me know that they're an up and comers, and I've been watching since UFC 1. So whatever, not the fighter's fault, not our fault, somebody's fault, and somebody who has an office at the Oopsie, I imagine.
Jon, how many times do I ask you, do they need to start promoting their fighters? How many times do I ask you, and what do you always tell me?
All the time, and you're wrong. They don't have to, because that costs money promoting the fighters. Why would you do that? Why would you do that when you're already making money? I mean, and the other problem, also that's just the nature that they play a ton of events. They just throw fighters on events. This is not like, Showbox or Boxing After Dark or, Strikeforce's Challenger Series where you had a spotlight on prospects. Guys just sit on the prelims. And I heard of Hyder Amil. I've never seen him because I imagine he's fought in the UFC on the prelims against fighters I don't know. And I'm not watching those Apex shows, except for maybe the main event. So I'm never gonna see him. And I got to be with Eugene this. I've never heard of Jose Miguel Delgado. It's not a care, and hopefully they better hope that they luck out. And then I'm just randomly watching and I catch the fight, because that's the only chance I'll probably care about him in the future at this point.
I only have 2 cares on the undercard, just 2. And this is one of them. I am taking Hyder Amil. I think he's criminally underserved here in the odds. So if I were a real betting person, everyone knows I don't bet real money, but I do bet bragging rights. If I were a betting person, I would definitely put like real money on Hyder Amil to win this. But since I'm not, hopefully I get some bragging rights from somebody out there that actually cares about the fight besides me. All right. So next up, the only other fight I care about, but I will let Jon lead this one because it's his turn. This is our lone ranked fight on the undercard. Viviane Araujo versus Tracy Cortez. Jon, take it away.
Yeah, I should care because under my relevancy rule, this is a relevant fight. I think they're both ranked.
Yes.
So I should care. And Tracy Cortez, her only loss that I can recall was Rose Namajunas. So she's not bad. And Viviane Araujo has demonstrated talent in the past, but I can't remember. She's been losing more than winning lately. But
she's got a solid win in her last fight over a highly touted prospect in Karine Silva. So I don't know. I feel like maybe she looped back around and got her mojo back. I remember she beat Jennifer Maya, which is impressive in some ways that she got that win. I can't remember her other win. I mean, she bet back in the day, Roxanne Matafari, didn't she fight her back in the day? I think so, yeah.
So, but if I recall, she's an under 500 fighter in the last 6-7 fights. So listen, if she wins and she looks impressive, then I'll probably move her to my care list. But right now, I'm just, even if it's a relevant fight, I just think the vision is so weak that I can't honestly care. I mean, listen, I'm stir frying right now. I'm seasoning some tofu to sprinkle into the dish with some green beans. It's going to be with some teriyaki sauce. It's going to be amazing.
Eugene, it's your turn.
I don't care.
I knew you weren't going to care. I just knew it.
And let's keep in mind, I've been one of the earliest boosters of women's MMA, and I like Araujo, but I don't know the other woman. And so I can't.
I only care about this because I like to give my support to the ladies, but I actually like watching both of the women fight. Tracy Cortez is younger, fresher, and she is a little buzzsaw herself. I got to take Tracy Cortez here. I wasn't even on the fence about this one. I saw the fight was made. I just thought, wow, Tracy Cortez is going to take Viviane's lunch money. So that's...
But if I cared, I would 100% be joining you on that. That's the one thing. That's the one thing I would agree with you on that I think Cortez will win. And my care, if I did care, would be centered on her.
All right. So we've got 4 more fights to go through. We have at 155, Terrance McKinney versus Slavaklaus Vyacheslav Borshov. Eugene, it's your turn. Oh, no, it's my turn. Oh, my God. I don't care. How about that?
Hold on. Where's Vyacheslav from?
He is from, let's see here. Oh, man. I'm sorry. Topology is a little tiny bit slow. He is from Volgograd, Russia.
Okay. All right. I like McKinney, but not enough to care about this fight. So.
All right. How about you, John?
We're going to make this quick. Don't care.
All right. So next up at 170, we have a 10-0 prospect, highly touted, Jacoby Smith taking on Nico Price. I don't care. How about you, Eugene?
Nope.
You don't care, really?
I don't.
I care solely because this is the chance to play win, don't lose.
Oh my goodness.
And so I am going to jump on that bandwagon and take Jacob Smith because Nico Price has no chance at winning this. None.
Is true.
I shouldn't say no chance. There's always, it's MMA. Your goddamn toe can get caught in the cage and be popped off. But very little chance. And so this is where I make my big move to make sure I win the week.
Right.
John, I thought you were better than that, John. I guess not. I guess not.
You do not know me at all if you thought I was better than that.
Oh, Eugene, you're up with a heavyweight fight between Jonata Diniz and newcomer Alvin Hines.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yo, John.
Unranked, right? Both of them?
Yes.
So unranked heavyweights on the prelims.
Yeah. Thank God they didn't make it into the main card.
And you're asking if I care.
I gotta do my due diligence.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. There's no there. I don't think I've heard of these guys. Either of them.
Alvin Hines is a newcomer. Jonata Diniz has had a couple of fights.
I think Diniz I have heard, but I don't think I've ever watched him fight. I don't wait, didn't he fight Tybura and lose?
Mm-hmm.
God, that was an awful fight. No, yeah, I don't care. Really don't care.
Yeah.
I knew Eugene wouldn't. So, okay, John, you have to lead this one. This is our curtain jerker right here. This is at middleweight, and both guys are brand new. We have Jackson McVeigh taking on, he is 6-0, taking on Christopher Ewert, who is 7-0.
What happened to Cedric Dumas? That was my pick.
Oh, was it? Yeah. You were not.
No, I'm just kidding. No, God, no. That guy. I was going to pick him in the lineup.
It's not just that he's a criminal. It's that he's terrible. Nobody understands why UFC is keeping this guy who's just fucking awful.
When I said I was going to pick him, I meant I was going to pick him out of a lineup because I think he's the guy that stole the rims from my car. Who's I don't even know who these people are.
They're
honestly.
brand new. Both of them are debuting.
Yeah, so that's a definition of a don't care. Maybe they'll demonstrate. I mean, the only reason I cared about the other one is because the guy's got a rap sheet. Otherwise, I never would have heard of him.
Eugene.
I was floating over the crowd just now. I mean, I don't know these names. Couldn't spell them. If you ran in here with a gun and asked me to make a pick, I wouldn't know what's going on. So yeah, I don't know them.
Yeah, I don't care either at all. So that's going to wrap that up. Now we're going to have one single topic to ask Jon and Eugene about, and I'm going to start with Eugene. Eugene, in a nutshell, tell me what you think of Jon Jones right now, because I know you've been a booster of Johnny Boney Joni for years, but I need to know now because 3 years have passed since we've done this show, and I haven't gotten a chance to get your honest take on Johnny Boney Joni.
Well, I wrote a whole Substack on it if people want to read the Substack. But, listen, there's a breakdown, right? And I did this. I actually published this at one point. At the bottom of the breakdown are dumbasses, right? These are just people who kind of dumbasses / fuck-ups. At the top of this ranking are fuckheads, and these are malicious people. A convicted anal rapist, Conor McGregor, is a fuckhead. Johnny Boney Joni is a dumbass, but Johnny Boney Joni has always been a dumbass. that is kind of, that's part of his brand. Not all in all harmful, but prone to fucking up in ways that generally only hurt himself, right? In this instance, my belief is he's no Greg Hardy. He's no Dana White beating his wife on New Year's Eve on video and kicking her when she was down. The guy's clearly got problems with substances, but he pulled a weird Uno card after having been barreled by his first or second series of bad news items where he lost all of his leverage points. Suddenly the game turned around and he's got all the leverage points in the world. So when Tom Aspinall says, well, if he doesn't come to the table, I'm going to have to move ahead, the world laughed. To what? Where are you going to go? What are you going to fucking do? The only game, red panty night for you is Johnny Joni, and he's not playing. He's not fucking around. He's like, maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just enjoy all of you swinging in the wind as long as possible before I decide to fundamentally do what I've chosen to do, which is step out. And believe me, like I say in the Substack, he's not gone. I'm retired. Yeah. If Cyril Gane beats Aspinall and the next likeliest matchup, I believe he's gone, unless by some miracle Hunter, Campbell, whatever that guy, whoever he is, manages to do the unlikely thing of getting Ngannou to come in. I think there's nothing left of interest for Johnny Boney Joni outside of half-naked women in cars high on mushrooms and alcohol. So I'm still, it might sound like I'm being harsh, but I'm defending his actions vis-a-vis the cage while not at all defending his actions in his own personal life. And I think, it's painful for me to see the jilted girlfriend, Daniel Cormier, load on about the guy doesn't want to fight. Why make him fight? Who gives a shit? Does it have to do with his personal life? I don't know. How come he's not getting a buy for what we don't even know? We don't even know how nobody saw him run out of the car. And yet guys we have video of fucking their loved ones, we're gonna let skate by. Nah, I'm still a Johnny Boney Joni fan. He is still a dumbass. And since I don't really believe he's gone, I admire the gamesmanship, because if Aspinall wins, then that's still in play. But I don't know that it's guaranteed that he's going to run right through. Everybody says he's going to run right through Gane, but they also realize that Gane has had a good 840-day layoff in order to, improve the quality of, outside of appearing on one movie that I saw him in. he's had time to train, so I'm presuming he's done so. So we'll see what happens. But I'm still, how you gonna who was it? One of your guys, Zach Arnold, or somebody said, in a year, nobody's gonna. Or no, it's Charles Sonnen. Nobody's gonna remember any of this shit. The car, the alcohol, the problem, whatever. They're just gonna remember all of his wins because that's what the videos show. The videos show him beating Machida. Videos show him beating Shogun. Who it's a steady record of accomplishment, and it kept the game alive. It's not his fault that the UFC dropped the fucking ball. So,
Jon, since we have gotten all this information about the arrest, got to get your take.
Well, I partly agree with Eugene, but then I also vehemently disagree with Eugene. Imagine that. I think, the video, all we'll care about of his wins if nothing more comes out of that video clip, because I'm not going to say allegations, but I'm going to wait for more information. But there is something potentially dark revealed in that video. One is him threatening the cop. The other, him mentioning how evil his brothers are, and I don't know what brothers is. I mean, his blood is actual genetic brothers or brothers symbolically, but that they had murdered people, and he named a name that was beeped out of the video. And finally, that this woman was passed out and woke up without her pants in a car. I mean, there's potentially very dark explanations for those that could lead to further, further revelations. But it also could mean nothing. I mean, I'm withholding judgment. So the idea that this doesn't mean much, I'm going to wait and see if it doesn't mean much, this accident, because I think, and this has been a terrible last few weeks with last few months, last few years with Hall of Famers in our sport, because you got Conor McGregor. And I agree with Eugene there too. He is more of a fuckhead than anything. He has been terrible, and his behavior sometimes seems to be getting worse over time. And then you throw in BJ Penn.
Oh my
right?
God! Yeah.
And I kind of get nervous of where we are going with a lot of guys in the sport. So.
What got me about the Jon Jones situation is that yesterday he put out a tweet where he said that the timestamp on the video didn't match when he actually spoke with the police officer.
His lawyer's got to be ecstatic.
I mean, wow, talk about shooting yourself in the fucking foot. When that case goes to court, they have a mountain of evidence against him already. Just a mountain of evidence.
You would think with his experience that he has been, you think that with the amount of experience he has with the police, the justice system, that he would know the number one rule is shut the L up and let your attorney do all the talking.
Yeah, and also too, they can triangulate phones. There was a guy, famous story, a guy in Mountain View or Palo Alto who had murdered his wife and this is right after cell phones became a thing. And they said, the cops, simple question, where were you? He was at work. And they just used cell phone towers and said, well, the cell phone towers indicate that you were on University Avenue, like about 5 blocks from your house. He's like, I guess. I mean, so all of this stuff is easily verifiable. But in any case, what we're looking at is a misdemeanor, right? Leaving the scene of an accident. Maybe because he's done it before, he's violated some condition of his parole or whatever. But it's not, the kind of stuff that Conor McGregor, convicted anal rapist Conor McGregor has been up to. And his name is still in conversations is mind blowing to me. So, if he came out tomorrow and said, you're right, I was drunk again, I was driving again, I was fucking around with a woman, not my wife again, or not my fiance again. So what can I tell you? This is my jam. And the people could kind of just keep out. It's like what they say. It's always the cover up that's worse, right? So the thing that John mentions about him talking about his brother. I mean, he's already come up with an explanation for that he didn't know it was. He didn't think it was the cops for real. He thought he was being threatened. He was just trying to scare the guys. But yeah, I thought that was dirty. We talked about this on. If the shoes fit, that's dirty pool.
But he gave a name, so they can. I mean.
Yeah, well, I've given names to cops before too. Abraham Lincoln. It didn't work out well for me, but just because you give a name and Abraham Lincoln is dead, I think it's suffice to say I had nothing to do with Abraham Lincoln shooting, but you could tell cops anything.
I just think the name drop was the part, like, if I'm not saying they were involved, but if you do, if I'm his brothers, I'm like, why would you mention the name? Now if they can look into it. And let's not forget the Gilgo serial killer was caught using cell phone triangulation.
You don't even have to use that. I mean, there's a simpler way to find out if Jon was driving. Just fingerprint the steering wheel. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. He could have walked her to the car, given her a kiss goodnight, and said, "Good luck to you." I mean, and
if his fingerprints were on the gear shift, on the steering wheel, I mean, there's many places they could fingerprint and determine if he was behind the wheel.
Yeah, I think it's even easier than that. Is that the doorbell cameras that populate every neighborhood now.
Or what they call now, I guess, flock cameras or traffic cams. I mean, it's hard to get away with stuff. But, like nobody. Also, it would be real easy to finger him for having done exactly what she accused him of, even if he didn't do it because of his past priors, you know. But the truth will come out. But when the truth comes out, what are we talking about? Still a fucking misdemeanor. Who cares?
Even though he's got priors from threatening the cops and destruction of police property and things like that, don't the 3 strikes rule come in somewhere?
What the idea is he's got to go to prison for this? I don't
know. I'm asking if anybody here knows.
No. I think this is just falls under the category of dumbass. Now, having said that, as is well known, I've got spies in Albuquerque, and spies in Albuquerque tell me a few things. They tell me he's still hanging out with the guys from the mini mart, the guys who are not enablers, gross enablers. So he's still hanging out with those guys. And he said, my prediction for Johnny Boney Joni is that he is found with a dead prostitute in his trunk. And at first I was laughing, and the guy goes, what are you laughing about? And I go, you made a joke. He's like, I'm not joking. And I was like, all right, man. All right. Well, I guess time will tell. And he recently wrote me after the retirement. And he goes, FYI, I stand by my prediction. So
wow.
That's the darkness. That's the darkness that John was hinting at. But, this is a spy. I don't know, what are his credentials? I don't know. I mean, I know what his credentials are. I'm not going to give them away on the show. But, thus far, John has not been found with any dead sex workers in his trunk. So
don't you feel like he's like a tragedy waiting to happen, though?
I'm thinking Daniel Cormier was right when he compared him to Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, I think if we want to talk about Psycho Monograph, I think he shares a lot with convicted anal rapist Conor McGregor. And I think what they share, it's like I wrote another Substack about it. I think it's this weird kind of repressed homosexuality thing, which causes them to act out in weird sexual ways, So I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I my tendency is not to, in a way, it's set to pick perfectly for a retirement, right? I mean, things couldn't have worked out really better for him, because if they go 3 rounds, and it takes 3 rounds for Aspinall. Aspinall wins after 3 rounds to a decision. He's given Johnny Boney Joni enough information for him to be able to put together a game plan, which is really what I think he wants. And for him to come out of retirement after he can do some mea culpa tour, and I'm sorry, and I'm rededicating myself to living a clean, all that bullshit. And then say, I'm back in the pool. I want to fight again and fight Aspinall because he has enough information to go on. Or, like I said, if Gon wins, then he's like, well, there you go. He got beat by a guy who I fucking crushed, so there's no point to me to do this. So the question is, where's Johnny Boney Joni in 5 years, despite him working for Ketone IQ or the sports drink people he's working for now? Where is he in 5 years or 10 years? I mean, he's got that quality of it, right? The video kind of comic things I've seen him do. I've seen him on Kimmel and Fallon. Very affable. People like him. He's getting little jokes, a nice smile, and they love him. But that's not the issue. The issue is what interests him enough to keep him from fucking up 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And thus far, we've seen nothing. So, that's where things get dark and weird.
John?
He's got to take up photography like Ken Griffey Jr. He's got to find some sort of hobby to keep him occupied. I think it's likely, if this ends up just being a misdemeanor and it's forgotten, then he comes back. And I think, I don't know if he comes back, but if the possibility of Tom Aspinall keeps winning and the fight gets huge, or if Ngannou somehow can, negotiate with the UFC and come back, then I think he thinks about it, because the UFC might offer him more than their standard pay, because it would be such a big fight. Maybe on the next TV deal, they want to come out with a bang, get one of these spectacle matches on Netflix, something would draw an audience. Then that's a strong possibility. But then there's also the chance that this, maybe there's more to this case, and he gets in serious trouble and then he doesn't come back. I'm for his sake, though, he better be hoping that the people in the antitrust case can get the arbitration agreements ruled unenforceable, because he stands, he's not going to make any money if he stops fighting. He's got, he's made money, but he doesn't have like generational wealth sitting in, he's talked about how he has several million in the bank. That's fine, but that's not generational wealth. But he better hope that they get that ruled unenforceable, those arbitration agreements, because he's going to get like $6.5 million. We estimate from this settlement, he could get over twice that on the next one if they get that cleared. So that would basically guarantee that he doesn't have to worry about anything in the future financially. He could spend, travel, do all the stuff he wants to do. I'm sure I think he lives a little more frugal than some fighters, but I'm sure he blows through money as well. And that would guarantee that he wouldn't have to worry in the future. They wouldn't have to take a fight out of desperation in the future.
I don't know about that. Remember, he had the tax problems where he didn't pay his taxes, and he had to pay $1.5 million in back taxes. He had his storage units repossessed, the utility bills that weren't paid, and they had water shut off. And then, not to mention, when he had the incident with his fiance a couple of years ago where he slapped her up and the kids called the cops, the reason they got into the argument was because he took $10,000 and was going to, quote, make it rain at the strip club. So I don't think that he's very frugal with his money.
Well, I meant frugal compared to guys like Conor and some of these other fighters that buy very, very large houses in very expensive places. And start businesses and all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure he blows through money, especially because he's not, before his last few fights where he got paid more from the UFC, he had money, but not the type of money where you could, you can blow $10,000 at the strip joint every time you go.
Yeah.
And the other problem too is, he has, I don't know if they've ever been officially married. He has kids with at least a common law wife. And if that doesn't work out, he's going to have alimony there. And if he's messing around, athletes are famous for having multiple children with multiple women, and that can really drain the resources in the future.
He has children with, I've heard 3 women, but I know for sure 2 women. He has one from before him and Jesse started their family, and then he has 4 with Jesse, I believe. It's either 3 or 4. In total, I think he has 5 children. So
that's what killed Sean Kemp. So,
that's what got Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield had 11 kids with 9 women.
Oh, my God. That's insane.
Mr. Christian, I really liked him when I interviewed him, but he acknowledged that, I got a problem. So
all he had to do was put a helmet on that soldier, and he wouldn't have these problems.
Yeah, well, then if you did that, then you would have to acknowledge what you were doing, right? That's the problem.
And on that fine note, I know that Eugene is limited on his time, so I want to give the mic to Eugene and let him tell you all of his projects, where you can find him, what he's got currently going on right now on his Substack. Eugene, take it away.
I got the Johnny We Hardly Knew Ye. It's you can find the Substack on Look What You Made Me Do. Something I called it well before Taylor Swift decided to name her song that. And you can subscribe to it for free. Hey, I'm not a money grubber necessarily, except all the time. The Show Stomper still on Sundays. Usually don't know what time. Bad Boss Brief, a show I do with the other Stephanie Pirolo, who's got a new book out. Decibel Magazine back cover every single month until I get sick of me, I guess. And then if you're anywhere on the Eastern Seaboard and desire to hear loud music, the Buñuel tour proceeds apace, as far south as Florida and Texas, as far north as Montreal. So you should try to show up. And there'll be minor breaks for book shows. I think there's going to be a book show in Austin. And then there's going to be another book show in Ann Arbor, Michigan, usually in the day before the shows. So many opportunities to show up, get a book signed, hear some music. And if you listen to this show and you get contact me, which is very easy to do. Usually if you're a fan of these shows, my standing offer is to have you guys or whoever on the list. So that means you can go to the show for free. But you can't game the system because I'll quiz you before to make sure you're, 1, a real fight fan, and 2, you're a fan of these shows, so that you know what we're talking about when you try to pitch. I need to get in for free. So those are the only rules. Feel free to have at it. But otherwise, you can catch me and John and Alexi Tuesday nights on If the Shoes Fit.
How about your social media?
At Eugene S. Robinson on what I still call Twitter, refuse to call it X. And you can find me at Substack for Look What You Made Me Do, as well as YouTube still for the Show Stomper, but you can also subscribe to it through the Substack. And on Facebook, it's, I forget what it is. It's,
How about Instagram?
Instagram is Mr. Sleep and the number 3. Mr. Sleep, all run together and the number 3. Easy to find me on Instagram as well. Or, Bunuel, Bunuel. You can find me through either of those places.
Is that Mr. Sleep spelled MR or MISTER?
No, it's MRSLEEP 3. So,
a lot of our listeners are illiterate, so you have to really spell it out for them.
This will help them remember. I got that name from when I used to be a dom. my checkered past as a sex worker. So Mr. Sleep, Mr. Sleep seemed to fit, and it stuck with me. Hey, if people were going to pay to get me to beat them up, I'd be a fool to not take the money, if you know what I mean.
All right, so y'all know the drill from here.
Listen to Steph, just like all the things I didn't miss.
Well, I always do I take us out on our show, so I'm going to do that right now. Do me a favor, follow Jon on all of his social media. He is Hey Not the Face across the board. And like Eugene, I never call it X. I still call it Twitter. So,
and Hey Not the Face has nothing to do with the Dom Pass, just to be clear.
Yes, it does. Okay.
No, it does not.
Yes, it does. Well, actually, he's on the receiving end. So
how dare this show is over. Let's get out of here.
But anyways, it's Hey Not the Face across the board. That's Twitter, Blue Sky, and YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter, Crooklyn MMA. You can follow me on Blue Sky, just plain old Crooklyn. From here, y'all know the drill. Until next time, subscribe and please stay safe.
Ow! Ow! Not the face! Ooh! Okay, the face!